Title: The Ghost Train of Nova Scotia. A haunting tale of tragedy and terror, Part 1. The ominous night. In the cold, foreboding night of November 1941, the winds howled through the dense forests of Nova Scotia, carrying the scent of the sea deep into the land. The sky was a pitch-black canvas, with clouds so thick they swallowed any light from the moon and stars. On this dark and stormy night, a freight train rumbled through the wilderness, its iron wheels clattering against the old, worn tracks. The train, heavy with cargo and passengers, pressed forward into the unknown, its presence almost insignificant against the vast, untamed landscape. Inside, the passengers huddled in their seats, feeling the cold seep into the carriage despite the small, flickering lights that lined the walls. They were unaware that a storm far more deadly than the one outside was about to be unleashed. Part 2. The Hidden Dread. As the train wound its way through the narrow, twisting tracks, a sense of unease began to settle over the passengers. The clattering of the wheels, once a rhythmic comfort, now seemed like an ominous drumbeat, warning of something unseen. The train's whistle pierced the night, a haunting cry that echoed through the trees. Some passengers tried to sleep, while others stared out into the impenetrable darkness, feeling a strange, creeping anxiety. Unknown to them, a deadly mistake had been made. Another train, fully loaded and running at full speed, was on a collision course, hurtling toward them on the same track. It was a scheduling error, a seemingly small oversight that would soon lead to an unspeakable disaster. Part 3. The Collision of Fate. Suddenly, around a sharp bend in the track, disaster struck. Through the fog and rain, the headlights of the other train appeared, barreling straight toward the unsuspecting passengers. There was no time to react. In a split second, the two massive trains collided with a force that shook the earth. The impact was catastrophic. Metal twisted, screeched, and tore apart as the carriages were crushed like paper. Flames erupted from the engines, igniting the night sky and turning the serene wilderness into a hellish inferno. The force of the collision sent passengers flying, screams filling the air as the train was torn apart. In an instant, the lives of those aboard were plunged into chaos and horror, the peaceful night shattered by the catastrophic blast. Part 4. The Wreckage and Despair. The aftermath was a scene of pure devastation. The once sturdy train was now a tangled mass of twisted metal, shattered glass, and burning debris. Smoke billowed into the sky, carrying with it the acrid smell of burning wood and scorched flesh. Bodies were strewn across the wreckage, some lifeless, others writhing in pain, trapped beneath the weight of the destroyed carriages. The survivors, those few who managed to crawl out from the wreck, were met with the horrifying sight of their fellow passengers, some unconscious, others no longer alive. The fire raged on, consuming everything in its path, leaving no chance for rescue. The air was thick with the smell of death, and the night, once cold and dark, was now ablaze with the fury of the flames. Part 5. The Echoes of the Dead. In the weeks that followed, the site of the crash became a place of morbid fascination and deep sorrow. But soon, the tales began. Locals started to hear strange noises at night, soft whispers that seemed to carry on the wind, the distant sound of a train's whistle, and most chillingly, the cries of those who had perished. Some claimed to have seen flickering lights moving along the abandoned tracks, lights that disappeared as quickly as they appeared. The stories spread like wildfire through the nearby towns. People spoke of ghostly figures wandering near the tracks, of cold spots that chilled to the bone, and of a presence that filled the air with a deep, unshakable dread. The spirits of the dead were not at rest, and their torment lingered long after their bodies had been consumed by the flames. Part 6. The Ghost Train. As the months passed, the legend of the ghost train took hold. Locals spoke in hushed tones about the nights when the spectral train would appear, its lights glowing eerily in the darkness as it raced along the tracks. It was a sight that filled those who saw it with both terror and sorrow. A train that moved silently through the night, its ghostly passengers visible through the windows. Their faces twisted in fear and anguish. They were trapped in an eternal loop, forced to relive the moment of their tragic deaths over and over again. The ghost train never stopped, never slowed, as if it was searching for something it could never find. Those who were unfortunate enough to witness it spoke of a deep, overwhelming sadness that would linger long after the train had vanished into the night. Part 7. The Haunting Legacy. To this day, the story of the ghost train remains a chilling reminder of the tragedy that unfolded on that fateful November night. The tracks where the disaster occurred have long been abandoned, left to rust and decay in the shadow of the forest. But the memories of that night, and the souls who were lost, have not faded. The locals still avoid the area after dark, fearing that the spirits of the dead might reach out to claim more victims. The tale of the ghost train has been passed down through generations, a cautionary story that warns of the dangers lurking in the dark, forgotten places of the world. It is a story of tragedy, of loss, and of restless souls who can never find peace. A story that continues to haunt those who dare to remember it.